City of Newport News is asking for the public's help tonight as leaders join forces to come up with a plan to combat youth and gang violence. Tonight, several leaders held a meeting with citizens to get their input. 13 News Now reporter Chinuher was there.
Yeah, that's right, Regina. This is a discussion some people in Newport News have been waiting to have. As they sat at tables with city leaders, they shared their ideas, hoping this future plan helps.
We have a very simple mission.
In Newport News, they really believe it takes a community to make change.
We are looking to bring all entities together to be able to address the issues that are happening in our community.
The community understands that, joining city leaders Tuesday night to talk about strategies to combat violence within their neighborhoods.
I want them to know to come out and talk to us about what their solutions are so we can actually see them.
Among the crowd were several recognizable faces, from Mayor McKinley Price to Police Chief Steve Drew, who's been active with community engagement following different shootings around the city.
But really, I'm here to take away something. I want to learn from our citizens about what their issues are, what their concerns are, what they want from their chief of police, what they want from their department.
All of the feedback and ideas from the discussion will be used by the city to create a 3-year strategic plan to prevent youth and gang violence. Just within the last month, 2 kids were shot.
I'm hoping that that's going to change the outlook and that's going to inspire some hope in our community so they will see we are trying to do something.
We're all part of a team. We're all part of a family. I want the citizens to know that, and I want my department to know that.
All right, so if you missed tonight's meeting, there will be another meeting just like this one on August 21st. That will be at the Denby Community Center from 5:30 to 7:30. Chinuher, 13 News Now.